toddler could just walk in within 2 or 3 minutes after you and your children arrived home, found the gun, pointed it at your daughter, and pulled the trigger when that gun had been in that same place for 24 to 36 hours and nobody saw it. I will never believe that. And I don't think you were honest with the jury about how that happened. But the simple fact remains that however he found it, you were responsible for that gun. What I believe happened, if in fact it was your child that had the gun, when the bullet was fired that killed your daughter, there was a man that came in. And I don't know if it really was somebody to collect window tint payments like you testified to, or if it was a pill deal, but somebody came in. It was a strange man in your house, and I believe you had that gun out for protection. I believe you had it round chambered and the safety off, and that gun was left there, and when you stepped out to smoke, the tragedy occurred. But that's on you and nobody else. So I place great significance on the 2 enhancement factors that I found, your history as well as the firearm use in this case. As stated previously, the mitigating factors, this was an unusual case. There are unusual circumstances, but I don't place much weight on that as far as mitigating your punishment. So if you would, please, ma'am, stand up. Ms. Howington, in docket number 117659, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty in count 1 of the lesser included offense of reckless homicide, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 3 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. In count 2, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of aggravated child neglect, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 22 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. In count 4, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of false report, a Class D felony, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 3 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. In count 5, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of tampering with evidence, a Class C felony, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 5 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. And finally, in count 6, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of attempted tampering with evidence, a Class D felony, you were sentenced to a term of 3 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction. These sentences will be served concurrently, one with the other, for a total aggregate sentence of 22 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction. And as your attorney has pointed out, the service rate is at 85%. I wish we weren't here. I know that you wish you weren't here. Mr. Oliver wishes that we weren't here, but you're the one responsible. That'll be the judgment of the court. Good luck to you. When do we need to set this for motion for new trial?
Judge, we need a transcript. I suspect that's going to take.
That's going to take a while. She's really backed up. I mean, why don't we set this out about 5 to 6 months just for status on, see where the transcript is, and then we'll set another date, a firm date for motion for new trial. Let's look at what's the first Friday.